The next one's from Mike Gilbert. Subject is Tessa Blanchard, intergender wrestling. Greetings, K100 crew. This is Mike Gilbert from Vandenberg Air Force Base, California. First off, let me say that I've been a day one listener, and the show has gotten even better since you moved to the MLW network. And Mr. Joe Finney III is probably the best podcast producer in the world right now.
Well, thank you, Mike Gilbert.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on the growth potential of intergender wrestling. I personally am not a big fan of intergender matches, and it's weird seeing dudes punch and kick chicks in the face in the spirit of competition. But with that said, Tessa Blanchard seems like she fits right in with the guys when she was wrestling, and my original discomfort with the style go away when she's in there. Her match with Sami Callihan at Slammiversary was incredible, and she was great in the ladder match at Bound for Glory. My question is, could you see Tessa Blanchard as the Impact World Champ, and would Conan book a female World Champ in AAA? Do intergender matches hurt sponsorship potential? Thanks, and fuck Kevin Gill. Fuck him and his stupid hunchback Mr. Burns looking ass.
Whoa. He does kind of walk
I'll say this. Here's what I'm going to say about intergender wrestling. The devil's in the details, okay? And Tessa, the reason they're doing this with Tessa is because her work looks so much like a guy and is so solid that it works. The only problem is it's a very slippery slope over the course of time where enough of people might start saying, hey, I get it, but this is kind of ridiculous. So it can't be... the intergender stuff is an attraction to me, but if we start just taking the girls and sticking them with the guys on a regular basis on every show, it's not going to work. I think most of us would probably agree with that. But if you can find the girls that can pull it off, and she's pulled it off every time, but I don't think other girls.
Okay, so let me tell you, because I've been way.
Yeah. We're taking the best women's wrestler there is,
right,
and doing it with her, right? So that's the gimmick. She's literally the best female worker in the business. Would you agree with that?
Tessa?
Yep.
Yeah, because she looks like she's good enough to work with the guys. How many other girls are good like that?
Well, they've never given Charlotte a chance to try to work with the guys. You never know. It could be very good if she did it too.
She's in her league. Tessa, Charlotte. Sure. They're in the same league.
Do you think Ty could get in there and mix it up? I mean, she probably has in Mexico.
1,000%.
Well, here's the thing. It just depends on the way you look at professional wrestling and where your suspension disbelief lies. I still think that this is the only problem, okay? Professional wrestling is not the movies, okay? It's a different genre. It's live action. It's not film. It's not CGI. It's not special effects. In the movies, especially in the Marvel and DC comics, we accept the women characters fighting against the male characters because they have superpowers, okay? And professional wrestling, these are just human beings, all right? So if you can get the suspension disbelief that you have in the movies when you see the female superheroes fighting the male superheroes, if you can get the wrestling fans in that same mindset for a live wrestling show, it could work. But to be perfectly honest, there's not enough girls that are have good enough work to do it. There's only a couple, which is why they're really only doing it with the one. So we can't expand intergender wrestling into just having the girls work with the guys because it's going to corrupt the suspension disbelief. But you can do it in the movies, which is why they may think they can do it in wrestling. But on a limited basis, it's worked. I mean, it gets a pop. It gets if people are shitting on it, you can keep trying it, but you don't want to go too far with it because ultimately you'll look and you'll watch and your numbers are going down each week. If you start doing too much, that's what'll happen. What do you think?
Yeah. So the guy I worked for, who was probably the best boss I ever had, one of the smartest guys I've ever met in this business, really a visionary because he came up with the minis concept. He came up with so many things, including the intergender match, which was Antonio Pena. And so when he first started, it was more like a special attraction kind of comedy type thing. But the way I use it is you got to be smart about your booking. You got to put in the right woman with the right men because at the beginning the women couldn't keep up with the men. And what happened is, and you see it in MMA. If you remember, I'm sure it was the first time you saw a woman in MMA. It certainly was the first time I did, was when Gina Carano came out in Strike Force, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you think back then there was only one real woman that had any name or any skills, and it was her. Okay. Now you fast forward how many years and you look at how many women are on a higher level, you know what I'm saying, in UFC, You know, same thing in wrestling. Right now, there's a lot of women you can put in with men, and they can have good matches, but it has to be booked correctly. So, as you say, it looks real. And for example, one of the problems I had when I was in Lucha Underground is they wanted to do intergender matches without understanding it. And they once had a match between, do you remember Rick, Big Rick, the guy that used to be in Reich, what's his name? He was in WWE.
Yeah.
Okay, they had a match between. He's legit got to be 6'6", 300 and something pounds, just massive. All right, he was in the ring with Sexy Star, who's got to be 5'2", 115. All right, and they were gonna try to make this believable, which there's really no way you can, And so things like that make intergender wrestling look bad. And that's a straight shot at you. What's that guy's name that came up with the idea? Big Dick Dudley or whatever his name was. Krista Joseph. That was when, yeah. And
he was Ezekiel Jackson in WWE, right?
Yeah, you know what though?
Yeah, wait a minute. So, but when you put in the right women, like we have several girls right now that are as tough as the guys in Mexico, because they've been training since they were 14. Okay, with men, and now they're like 22, 23. And, bro, they can go in there and kick ass with just about any guy. And I've got about 4 of those. And there was one girl right now who just got pregnant who I was going to give a title to. Not the main title, but I was going to give her one of the secondary titles. And this year was the first time in 27 years we had a woman in a main event. They were with men, too. It was actually an intergender main event. It was like Psycho Clown, Taya, and I forgot who else. And it was like Ayako Hamada. I forgot who else it was, but it was the first time they'd ever been there. It was the first time we ever had a woman in a men's faction, this girl called Yedra, who's the daughter of Sangre Chicana. She's one of these girls that started at 14. She's 22. Anyways, at the end of the day, if booked correctly, you can do it,
Well, and then plus two, let's not forget that Lucha Underground is shot like a film. Like a movie. It's like a show of a wrestling show. So you can you can do that. But I'm going to bring this up. This is another point which kind of like lends it kind of adds to the credibility in your suspension of belief that it can actually happen. You watch CM Punk fight in the UFC, okay? And if you asked anybody, like if you were to say who would you take CM Punk versus Cyborg, you would have a decent percentage of people that would probably say Cyborg would probably beat him.
Right.
Because she looks like that. She looks like an ass kicker, and Punk
especially a young Cyborg.
Right. So you could. That's a question you could throw in there. It's like, okay, can this work? And because out there, it looks like Cyborg looks like she could kick CM Punk's ass. That's what. So I don't know. It's just like I said. It just has to be. It's very difficult to book because there's a lot of details.
Right.
That you have to do to not make it look, not make it embarrass the business. Exactly.